The Hex. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in a valley surrounded by dark, towering mountains, there lived a young woman named Alara. The village was known for its ancient traditions, many of which were based on old, mysterious practices passed down through generations. Among these traditions was a belief in the power of the Hex, a curse that could be cast by a witch or someone with dark intentions. The villagers spoke of the Hex in hushed tones, and only the elders dared to speak of it openly. Alara, however, did not believe in such superstitions. She was a pragmatic young woman, working as a weaver, and she had no interest in the old tales or the warnings that the elders would often give. She lived a peaceful life, content with her work and the company of her friends. But that peace would soon be shattered. It began one stormy evening when Alara was returning home from the market. The wind howled through the trees, and the sky was a deep, foreboding gray. As she made her way along the narrow path that led to her cottage, she noticed a figure standing at the edge of the forest. The person was cloaked, their face hidden in shadow. Alara stopped, her heart beating faster. "Who are you?" she called out. The figure did not respond. Instead, the person stepped forward, revealing an old woman with pale skin and hollow eyes. She looked as though she had been standing in the rain for days. Her clothing was tattered, and there was something unnatural about the way she moved. "You should not be out here, child," the old woman rasped. "The Hex is near." Alara's skepticism flared. She had heard the stories of witches and curses, but she had never taken them seriously. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, her voice steady despite the unease creeping up her spine. "The Hex," the old woman whispered again. "It is coming for you." Before Alara could respond, the woman vanished into the darkness, leaving Alara standing alone in the rain. She felt a chill run down her spine, but she quickly shrugged it off. There was no such thing as a hex, she thought. It was just an old woman's rambling. The following days were uneventful, but Alara began to notice strange things happening around her. At night, her cottage seemed colder than usual, and sometimes she would hear whispering voices in the wind, though there was no one around. The patterns she wove began to fall apart, the threads slipping from her fingers in ways that made no sense. Her once peaceful life became filled with strange occurrences that she could not explain. One evening, as she sat by the fire, she felt a sharp pain in her chest, as if something was pressing down on her heart. She gasped for air, clutching at her chest, but the pain only grew worse. In that moment, she realized with a start that the old woman's words were not just a warning. They were a curse. Alara had been hexed. Panic surged through her, and she ran to the village to seek help. She found the elders gathered around a fire, as they often were in the evenings. They looked at her with solemn expressions as she explained what had been happening. One of the elders, a woman named Miras, nodded gravely. "You have been cursed, child," Miras said. "The hex is a powerful magic, one that can twist your fate and bring misery to your life. It can only be lifted if the one who cast it is found and their power is broken." Alara's heart sank. She had no idea who could have cursed her, but she knew she had to find a way to break the spell. The elders gave her little hope, telling her that the curse could not be broken easily. It would take time, and even then, it might not work. Determined not to let the hex consume her, Alara set out on a journey to find the mysterious old woman who had spoken of the curse. She traveled far from her village, across forests and mountains, following the faintest of clues. As she ventured deeper into the wilderness, she grew weaker, her body growing frail as the curse took its toll. Every step felt like a battle, and the once strong Alara began to doubt if she would ever find the woman or escape the hex. One day, as she trudged through a dense thicket, Alara stumbled upon an abandoned cabin. It was old, with vines creeping up its sides, but there was something about it that felt strangely familiar. She knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Hesitantly, she pushed the door open, stepping into the darkness. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the floor creaked beneath her feet. In the center of the room stood a wooden table, and on it was a strange, glowing object. As Alara approached, she realized it was a stone, unlike any she had ever seen before. It was carved with intricate symbols, and its glow pulsed with an eerie light. She reached out to touch it, But the moment her fingers brushed the stone, a voice echoed through her mind. "Alara," it whispered. "You have found me." The voice was familiar, yet foreign. It was the voice of the old woman who had cursed her. "Why?" Alara cried out. "Why did you curse me?" The voice was soft, almost pitying. "Because you did not believe, you were blind to the power of the old ways, and you disregarded the warnings. Now you must face the consequences of your actions." Tears welled up in Alara's eyes as she realized the truth of the old woman's words. She had been arrogant, dismissing the very forces that had protected her ancestors. She had ignored the wisdom of the past, and now she was paying the price. With newfound resolve, Alara clenched her fists and vowed to break the curse. "I will not be your victim," she declared. The stone in front of her began to vibrate, and the room was filled with a blinding light. Alara's body was engulfed in a powerful force, and for a moment she felt as though she might be torn apart. But just as quickly as it had come, the light faded, leaving her standing alone in the cabin. She looked down at her hands. The curse was gone. The hex had been broken. Alara returned to her village, her body and spirit stronger than ever. She had learned a valuable lesson: the power of belief, the importance of respect for the old ways, and the dangers of disregarding the forces that shaped the world. She became a keeper of the old traditions, passing them on to the next generation, ensuring that the hex would never again find its way to her village. And though the village would continue to face hardships, Alara knew that with respect for the old ways and the strength of her people, no curse would ever hold them again.